So, of course, it's the new year, right? And what do we all do when we're thinking of the new year? We make resolutions. We start to think about goals that we should accomplish in our personal and professional lives. And the purpose of today's training is to tie into that. And it is all about setting goals. And this is really important. This is something personally I really never did until maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And I had heard for years, just like you guys are sitting digitally across the table from me, how you should set goals, set goals, think about what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. And I never really kind of paid attention to it that much. And then as soon as I started to, and really did a few little fine-tuned things that I'm going to share with you, for me personally, that's made all the difference. That's when my business really started taking off professionally. I contribute my year-end results directly to the continual commitment now to setting goals, to routinely revisiting those goals, writing those goals down, and visualizing them. Last year, and I'm not, hopefully this doesn't come off this way. I don't mean to brag, but my income is up 70% in 2022 from 2021. And in 2021, my income was up I think it was 42%. So last year, 2021 was my best year ever. This is why, and the whole, why everything's going the way it is economically. And I don't share this to you to do anything other than to, I think, make this purposeful connection to what I'm doing right now in my daily goal setting and the things that I do to visualize what I want, to hopefully inspire you to do the same, because I think it makes a huge difference. So we're going to go over really how to take this concept of goal setting and put it into reality. Again, I'm going to give you my experience. That's all I can parlay here, because I started with nothing and I'm doing incredibly well relative to 10, 11 years. And I'm going to just basically just give you what's worked for me. And hopefully you'll take some of it and apply it to your own business, and maybe hopefully see some results from it as well. So again, the first thing I think when we talk goal setting is you have to establish the why. Okay. And I think, we talk about a lot in our training when we're selling insurance prospects. We have to come up with the why. What is that inflection moment in their lives that has caused the prospect to be interested now, out of the years that they've had, the ability to buy insurance? What is happening now that they're, talking to us, a salesperson on the phone or in person? Likewise, we need to examine why we're even bothering with this business to begin with, right? We know that this business has a 90% fail out rate. Likewise, we know that there are people who do extremely well in this business. And in order to get through the emotional roller coaster that this business is, you have to have some kind of driving force in your life, I think, to work through the frustrations that will absolutely happen to every one of you. You will question why you're even selling insurance to begin with. And I think the stronger your vision and your mindset with what you want out of your life and your career is, the better you're going to be able to handle the inevitable troughs in this business. So for me, and what can your why be? I mean, your why can be anything. I mean, and it's going to vary from person to person. Again, for my sake, for my experience, and this may sound a little strange, I always felt this was my destiny to be successful. Like my family was successful. The men in my life were successful. My father, my grandfather, my uncle. I kind of looked at them as, well, I share their blood, right? There's something in me that should be successful too. And despite, basically failing out of the business, but prior to that, really just not getting much headway in the personal training business for like 5 years, I still felt, to whatever degree, and crazy as it was, even though I was not really getting anywhere great, that I was destined for success. So for me, that was kind of just there. It wasn't a question that I had. To a minor extent, I didn't want to be poor. I didn't want to experience poverty. I wanted the best for my family. And so kind of those two things are kind of the why for me, why I do what I do. And I think on the third level too, it's just, I can't help myself. Like I am what I am. I'm creative. I love to work. This provides significance and meaning to my life. And it's kind of an outlet for the stuff that goes on in my mind. So those are kind of the things that for me of why I do what I do. It gives me purpose. It's my destiny. And it allows me to escape poverty, the things that, I don't want in my life. Now, what should your whys be? Again, your why should be whatever you think is important to you. And it's going to vary from person to person. Do you want to be rich? Do you want to be financially free? Do you want freedom, independence? There's lots of different things that are important. And I think, again, most of you have kind of at least a basic understanding of this, but I think the more time you can think about this and the more clarity you can get to the purpose of why you're involved in this business to begin with, I think what you'll find happen is when things get tough, you'll have a little bit more strength and resolve to get through the tough times. Okay. And without that why, without that solid mindset and understanding of what is important, when things get hard, you're going to want to let this go. I think at a lot higher pace. Another thing I think, and get two things I like to do that have helped me keep this going and keep my purpose and vision intact, is I picked up a term or an idea from, there's an old book from years ago called Psycho-Cybernetics. I didn't get through much of it, but I picked up the term from Dan Kennedy, who was a marketing guru back in the day. And he called it the theater of the mind. And this is a technique you can use to help you visualize better what it's going to be like, or what it is like, and even in a sense of being successful to achieve the goals that you have set out to accomplish. For example, if your goal is to make 100,000 net income this year, you need to visualize in the theater of the mind what that is like from the moment you get up from the bed to what do you do during the day? What are you able to do with your access and capability to earning that much money? You need to walk your life through visually in your mind what it is like to accomplish that goal, what your life's like, the vacations you're going to take, you getting out of debt faster, what the feeling of that freedom is like. You need to live that in your mind. I'm closing my eyes, kind of thinking of that as the process. And what happens is as we plant these seeds of visualization in our mind, I think that gives a sense of reality, a sense of direction and realism to what it is that we want to accomplish. So I do that a lot. I envision what it's like, especially early on, what it was like to hit my first couple of income goals, and continue to do that to this day. Now, the big thing that I do that I think really helped me a lot is I write down my goals consistently, constantly. And anytime I'm feeling any personal struggle or frustration, or just I don't feel content, I always go back to my book and rewrite my goals, even if it's the same thing. And then many times it's the same goals, but I write them down because it gives me the sense of clarity and purpose and direction, and kind of allows me to recalibrate and to refocus on what it is that I'm trying to do. One of my personal faults, I think it's a double-edged sword. One of my personal faults is that I'm an opportunist. I see opportunity where others don't, but I see a lot of opportunity. Like, as I've done very well in my life financially and from a business perspective, there's tons and tons and tons of opportunities. There really is. And the question becomes, at some point, what are you going to focus your limited capacities on? Which opportunities with the highest rate of return and the lowest risk? And so anytime I see other opportunities, or I get discontent with the direction I'm going because things aren't turning out, I always turn to this little book here, and I'll show you guys what I got here. So this is a book that you can get on Amazon. I forget what these are called, but you can kind of see the structure of the books. These little books here are really cool. And basically, and my daughter likes to draw mermaids and stuff. It's all right too. I've carried, this is like my fourth or fifth book I've had over the past 5 years. And every goal of mine, every thought of mine, every idea goes into this book. It's written down. Yeah, it's like Laura May or something. It starts with an L. Lamome. That's what it is. Moleskin. Yeah. So this nice, it's like 15, 20 bucks. You don't have to get this. You can get your regular spinal book. This just kind of stays together than like a spinal book. I got one right here. There's pages rip off. You don't want to lose your goals, right? You want to keep them. And this has just been kind of my record of ideas and goals and dreams. And I revisit this. I write my to-do list down. We'll talk kind of more of setting micro and macro goals here, kind of as we put all this stuff into action in a minute. But I use this book to essentially have my 30,000 foot view and to revisit it on a regular basis. Typically, I sit down maybe once or twice a week and rewrite my goals down. And they include personal goals, like my goals in the gym, what lifts I want to hit, jiu-jitsu goals, certainly business goals as well. And it gives me clarity, and it reinvigorates me on some level to continue to focus on the things that I want in my life and the business goals that I want to accomplish. So I would advise you guys, as you write your goals down, get a book like this. These are sturdy. They last forever. You can revisit your goals very easily, keep track of things, your ideas, your thoughts. And it's, again, something, I don't know where I picked this up. I was reading a book and they mentioned this and I picked it up, and this has been probably one of the best things I've done. There's something I'll say about this. There's something about taking the ideas, because an idea is not a thing. It's just this, it's a thought. It's electrical impulse in your brain. It's a potential, I forget what they call it in physics, but it's potential energy. It has the potential to be more, but until it's taken action upon, it's just an idea. I came up with a YouTube idea, the idea of YouTube, when I was in college, but I didn't do anything about it, right? So it was just an idea. Likewise, your ideas of making whatever your goals are, what you want to accomplish, it's not real. It's in your mind, but it's not going to be real till it's written down. And I think the act of transmuting what's in your head to what's on paper is the most important, and also the first step, I think, to making those dreams and ideas become a reality. So let's actually break this down numerically. I think seeing this from the number standpoint is what I'm talking about. If we're going to get into, okay, Dave, let's say we've set our why. We're going to commit to practicing and visualizing in our mind what it is that we want to accomplish. And then also commit to writing our ideas down, our goals down on a regular basis, not haphazard or sporadically. The next step is, okay, well, how do I arrive at the equation of what I need to do, keyword do, in order to accomplish my goals? So the big concept here I want to make clear to everybody here is what you should be most concerned about with goal setting is inputs, not outputs. The output is the money. It's 100 grand. Yeah. Now we want that, right? That's our goal. But on a micro basis, what we should be concerned about is what does it take from a day-to-day basis to hit your macro goal? Macro being big picture, micro being what do you do in the day-to-day activities? That makes sense. So what we're going to do here is I get up my Google spreadsheet here. Just hang tight here. I'll pull one up. We're going to do a little math together. Some math. I know it's going to be fun. Daily huddle, supposed to be some inspirational meeting, and you got us doing math. All right. So let's kind of walk through this together a little bit. Let me zoom in so you guys can see better. I'll pull up the chat here. Folks, yes, processes. And so processes, I always like the serenity prayer. I think the serenity prayer is really sets the goal things up. You know, Lord, please help me understand what the things I can control and can't control, and understand the differences between both. I really just botched it, but you get the idea. There are things you can control in your life, and there's things you can't control. I can't control if Mildred's going to actually buy from me today, right? I mean, I can influence her, but I can't force her. I can't know with perfect knowledge if she's going to buy. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, you know, from the weather to politics to whatever. But I know I can control the things I can do, right? So the important thing here is that when we've got macro goals, so let's just say we want to set a goal of $100,000 in final expense net income. We need to think of, well, what do I need to do on a daily basis to hit that goal, right? Because it's 100,000 is a culmination of, if you work 5 days a week times 12 months, That's approximately 240 days, right, in the field or on the phone. That's a pretty big number. So we need to break that down into daily goals from the input side in order to derive an equation that, held over time, the entirety of the year, is going to help us arrive at that major goal that we've set. Okay. So let's kind of do some breakdowns here. And I'm just, for the sake of math, I'm going to set up 150,000 production. For most people on here, I think having $150,000 production in 1 year, once you, and we'll hit on the numbers, and I can, if there's time, about the lead cost, I'm happy to do that. But the more important thing is deriving what activity you need. So this isn't so much of a breakdown numerically of, like lead costs, et cetera. But the point is, if you're writing 150,000 in final expense, you should be pretty close to netting at the end of the year about 100,000. Okay, so I'm going to kind of work on that number here for the sake of goal setting here. So I want to have 150,000 in final expense production, and a goal with a goal net income of 100K. All right, everybody with me so far? So simply put, somebody do the math. What's $150,000 divided by 12? So we're going to do that in over 12 months. So we're going to get a monthly number now. What's 150,000 divided by 12? Just throw it in the chat.
12.5.
12.5. Thank you. So we got 12,500 in monthly production, right? And now divide that by 4 for a weekly. What's our weekly production? Jason.
3,125.
Thank you. 3,125. And that's weekly production. And you guys know where I'm going now. What is the daily production? Divide that by 3, or divide that by 5. And this may vary, right? So some of you may be in field 3 days a week, 5 days a week. So take your number, but in the case, let's use 5. What is it, Jason?
625.
625. So 625 AP and daily production. Now, what do we call 625? What is that an average of? One policy. Safe to say? I mean, some of you, a lot of you will write have average case sizes higher than that, right? But basically what we're showing here so far is that on a results basis, on the production, again, we'll get to the inputs in a second, all we need is to write one policy a day to make a net income of $100,000. First, so the first thing that I hope to do is, through this basic analysis, show you that one policy a day will make you a lot of money. Okay. So that's kind of the first thing. It doesn't take a lot of activity to just make 100,000. Just takes a sale a day. Okay. Now, of course, the next step is, well, what do we need to do to derive one sale a day, right? Because now we're going to work from the results side to the input side. So what I think personally is that the average agent probably is going to close on a face-to-face basis 1 out of 2. And this, again, we're going to vary this for telesales and face-to-face. We'll convert out of every 2 presentations, 1 presentation. So a 50% close rate for face-to-face. And I would say, let's call it and again, this just depends, if you're using TV leads or live transfers, 1 out of 4. If you're doing outbound, 1 out of 3 is good. So let's just use 1 out of 3. Telesales. So what does this tell us right here? In order to get 1 sale, how many presentations do we have to do a day for face-to-face, guys? And how many do we have to do a day for telesales?
2 or 3.
Right. So all you need are 2 presentations for face-to-face and 3 presentations for telesales, right? Now we're getting at what? We're getting at input goals, right? So now we're looking at, okay, what Dave is saying here is I need to do 2 presentations a day, right? 2 presentations a day on average and that's kind of an asterisk there we'll cover in a minute. On average, we'll close one policy if I'm face-to-face. And if I do 3 full presentations outbound, that'll close 1 telesales deal. Everybody with me so far? So now we're talking about what the things we can control. Can we control presentations? Sort of, kind of. Now, what's the final derivative to getting a presentation? Well, there's kind of 2 steps here. What are the last 2 things that determine you getting a presentation? Leads, and what's the other one? Prospecting. This is the fundamental input that I want you to think more about, even more than presentations. Okay. The outbound effort, meaning, or inbound, really, either or. The effort to get a presentation, the prospecting effort to set appointments, to door knock, to make outbound calls. This is where all of the magic begins. And guess how much you can control that? 100%. You have the power to pick the phone up and call, or get out your house and knock on a door, right? So where do we go from here? Well, let's say we're doing door knocking, right? And we're face-to-face, and it takes 6 door knocks to get a presentation. So how many door knocks does it take to get 1 sale? Say it again, Jason. You're muted.
6.
You sure about that?
To get 12 to get 1 sale.
12. Yeah, thank you. Yes, 12 to 12. Get 6 to get 1 presentation. 12 to get a sale. So what does this mean? What do you have to do every day if you're door knocking to get a sale?
12 knocks.
12 knocks, right? And so we can do the same effort or the same process for phone calls. We can do the same effort for anything. Okay, it doesn't matter. But the point is we've gone from the macro, 150,000, to the micro. And now we've gone from, and going back to the serenity prayer, we now know what we can control from this derivation. We can control the knocking and calling. And so therefore, at the end of the day, when we're goal setting, this is what matters more than anything else. Because here's some things that are going to happen. Do we always know with certainty that our averages are going to play out exactly day to day, like is being demonstrated here?
No, I need 10 presentations for phone, and I could get 1 to 3 depending on the day. So you don't know. Yeah, you know.
Some days you're the statue, some days you're the pigeon, right? So some days the numbers turn out in your favor, maybe even better. They're just throwing their checkbooks at you, right? And some days you can't get nothing. But where the averages come from is and this is where you have to take this leap of faith, because I can't tell you what your averages are going to be, ladies and gentlemen, but you have to start tracking your numbers. You have to start looking at the activity and the input you're putting in. And over the course of weeks to months, I would say at least a month, you then do the math like what we did. And then now you kind of have a good estimate of what to expect. And what's cool is from here on out, you've got a really good estimate of the kind of input you need to put in to make the money you want to make. You want to double that net income to 200,000? What does that mean? You got to double your activity, right? You got to double your door knocks a day, double your appointments a day, whatever the input is you've got to do.